Even before the Chase Center falls silent after the finals, three stories have already started to boil in the halls of San Francisco. And if you're a true Dub Nation fan, you know that each one of them could become the turning point for what this team will be 5, 10 years from now. On one side, GM Mike Dunleavy talks about protecting every draft pick like a vault. But at the same time, he doesn't hesitate to give up a pick to bring in a big name. In the locker room, the atmosphere heats up. Jonathan Kaminga, a young prospect, wants space to grow but sees his minutes disappear as Jimmy Butler arrives to add another spark of hope. And while everyone is discussing the present, a rumor emerges that makes any Warriors fan stop and dream. What if Giannis decided to change everything? All of this together, mixed and ready to explode once the offseason really starts moving to pieces. Want to know how every detail of these stories can become the next big chapter of our dynasty? Then do this. Leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell, because only those who breathe Dub Nation to the end understand it here. The impossible is not just a rumor, it's part of the game. Steph Curry and Draymond Green won't play forever. This short sentence, said by Mike Dunleavy right after the 2025 NBA draft, it's like a punch to those who still insist on believing that the Warriors era can fool time forever. But maybe that's exactly the biggest challenge of a dynasty. Understanding when to hold on to the right pieces and protect what hasn't even been born yet. It was in a frank conversation on the TK show with Tim Kawakami that Dunleavy revealed a truth that many inside the Chase Center already whisper in the halls. The Warriors are more protective than ever with their draft picks, and it's no coincidence. If there's one thing Dub Nation has learned from every trophy raise, it's that building the future is just as important as defending the present. And today, that balance is more fragile than ever. Dunleavy was clear. We are probably more protective of these picks than most teams because we don't know what our roster will look like in a few years. What for the rest of the league makes these picks a valuable currency? After all, having the Warriors pick in 7 or 8 years can mean a real chance for a rebuild. For Golden State, it represents a huge risk. A risk that could cost years at the bottom of the standings if mismanaged. That's why, for Dunleavy, this protection became a priority. And it makes sense when you look at the scenario. Steph Curry will be 39 in the 2027-28 season. Draymond Green, 37. Both will be unrestricted free agents. Draymond still has a player option for 2026-27, but let's be realistic. Giving up $27 million at this stage? Unlikely. Jimmy Butler, recently arrived, will also be a free agent in the same period. So, who will keep the flame burning? This story of picks kept in the vault is not just caution. It's a sign that Golden State wants to be ready for anything. Dunleavy even said, if a player comes along that you can call, we'll be in the game. But for that, you need something valuable to offer. And in this case, the most coveted currency is precisely these future picks. It's almost as if each pick is an insurance policy. If everything goes wrong when Curry leaves the scene, at least there's still a plan B to rebuild. The curious thing is that this is not new to those who follow the Warriors' journey. It wasn't that long ago that the franchise had to make tough decisions. After Klay's injuries, Durant's departure, and the 2019 collapse, it seemed like everything would fall apart. But the draft brought in guys like Kaminga, Podziemski, Tracy. Pieces that today carry part of the weight of a possible transition when the legendary trio steps aside. It's a scenario of silent dilemmas. On one hand, no one in the locker room wants to give up competing now. Draymond, always vocal, knows that each season is another chance to prove he still makes a difference on the court. Curry, as immune to time as he seems, already feels the clock ticking fast. And Butler, who is still adjusting to this new role in the Bay Area, is aligned with him in this pact of one more dance before everything changes. Meanwhile, the rest of the league watches. Those who have Warriors first-round pick 7 years from now know that without Curry and Draymond, they could turn into rough diamonds. It's a chess game. For Golden State, it's better to hold the trump card. For rivals, the more exposed the Warriors are, the better. That's why Dunleavy talks so much about walking the line. Every decision now can become headline news a decade from now. If they hold on to the picks, they can build a new generation that honors Dub Nation when the Splash Brothers are statues in front of the Chase Center. If they spend everything, they risk falling into limbo when there's no Curry left to save the game at the buzzer. But maybe that's the essence of what made the Warriors different from everyone else. The courage to bet. In the past, that meant risky contracts, injuries, criticism, but also historic shots, magical nights, and 4 rings that no one can erase. Now, the challenge is to make that flame last without ignoring tomorrow. And this is where I want to hear from you. If you were Mike Dunleavy today, what would you do? Keep those picks locked away like an inviolable vault, or put everything on the table to give Curry, Draymond, and Butler one last chance to shine together? Answer in the comments, because every opinion from Dub Nation counts in this story. And the future, the future is just beginning. But how do you hold that future in your hands when every decision feels like it carries the weight of a decade? The arrival of Jimmy Butler was the spark that exposed this doubt hanging like a cloud over the Chase Center. And the story of how it all started says a lot about the Warriors' way of doing things. Bold, unpredictable, almost stubborn in believing there's always one more title lurking, even if the price is high. In February, while much of the league was settling in to see how the rest of the season would play out, Golden State decided to make a big bet. They traded their 2025 NBA draft first-round pick to bring Jimmy Butler from the Miami Heat. It was a risky move, but with a clear message for all of Dub Nation. If there's still a chance to push Curry and Draymond for one more run to the top, it goes through Butler. But every coin has 2 sides. To make room for Butler to shine alongside the veterans, someone had to step back. And for many, that someone ended up being Jonathan Kaminga, one of the biggest prospects the team has cultivated in recent years. He arrived as the 7th overall pick in 2021, carrying the expectation of being the link between victorious present and the uncertain future. For a while, it seemed to be working. 46 starts in 2023 to 24. Flashes of versatility, plenty of energy. But overnight, everything changed. With Butler in the rotation, Kaminga saw his role evaporate. He started only 10 games the following season, a drastic cut for someone who, even young, showed solid averages. 15.3 points, for 0.6 rebounds, 2.2 assists, and over 45% shooting from the field. Numbers that on many other teams would guarantee valuable minutes, and even a prominent role. But with the Warriors, it's not always that simple. And when the environment starts to tighten, the backstage heats up. Since last year, rumors about Kaminga's relationship with Steve Kerr have been circulating like smoke. It's no secret that the forward wants a bigger, more consistent role, a claim that Michael Scotto from Hoops Hype reinforced during the draft. It's a legitimate desire for someone who in 4 seasons has never averaged more than 26.4 minutes per game. And that's where the Heat come into play. After losing Kevin Durant to the Houston Rockets in a Blockbuster trade, Miami was left without their main target to strengthen the roster. But in the NBA game of musical chairs, one door closes and another opens. Veteran insider Shams Charania confirmed. Kaminga is now one of the names the Heat are closely monitoring. A young, athletic wing who wants to prove himself. Exactly the kind of piece Miami loves to embrace and turn into a key part of competitive system. But the situation is more delicate than it seems. Kaminga enters the offseason as a restricted free agent. That means the Heat can prepare an offer, possibly above the salary cap that the Warriors could or would be willing to match. Or, more likely, the franchises can sit down and negotiate a sign-and trade. That way, Kaminga would get a fresh start, while Golden State would get something in return. A behind-the-scenes dance that's already part of this league's DNA. Meanwhile, Dunleavy watches, aware that every move needs to be surgical. On one side, there's a way to protecting the picks, the same ones he fiercely defended in the TK show interview. On the other, the pressure not to lose valuable assets for nothing. Kaminga is no ordinary player. He still carries the potential to be an important piece, especially when Curry and Draymond decide to step away. And for the fan wearing blue and gold, this saga is more than contract numbers or minute stats. It's about identity. Since reinventing themselves as a dynasty, the Warriors have always balanced the immediate and the future. It was that way with the bets that brought Durant. It was that way when the franchise decided to wait for Klay Thompson to recover, believing he would return as an essential part of the legendary trio. It's like that now with Butler, a choice that says a lot about the will to win one more, even knowing it tightens the present and might cost the future. And while Kaminga trains in silence, probably wondering where his game fits, the locker room never stops. Curry, Draymond, Butler all know that every extra year is a battle against clock. For Dunleavy, protecting the picks is shielding a plan B, but losing Kaminga without return will be a blow that echoes far ahead. And for Dub Nation, the same dilemma remains. Who do you choose to protect? The raw talent that can mature and become a star, or the dream of seeing the legendary trio fight for one more trophy before the statues stand only outside the Chase Center? That's why I ask you again. Would you let Kaminga go to Miami, betting that Butler is enough to keep the fire burning for a few more years? Or would you hold on to Kaminga, even knowing the vibe with Kerr isn't the best, believing he can be the pillar to sustain the future when Curry hangs up his shoes? Answer here in the comments. And the future is written in every pick, every rumor, every heart that beats together. Because being a Warrior means living on the edge between glory and the fear that one day everything will fade away completely. Kaminga's story, Butler's arrival, the picks kept under lock and key. Every detail shows how Golden State insists on racing against the clock. But it's when the off-season begins that Dub Nation realizes nothing here is ever static. The NBA Finals have come and gone. For most, it's the end of a cycle, but for those working behind the scenes, it's just the beginning. Soon after, the NBA draft knocked on the door. A reminder how the future is planted in decisions that seem small now, but can grow into giants tomorrow. And no one knows this better than Mike Dunleavy Jr., who made clear in the same week why protecting draft picks is like guarding gold, was also the one who, months earlier, gave up a first-round pick to bring Jimmy Butler from the Miami Heat. A bold move that sparked hope, but also exposed cracks. Butler's arrival changed the board. It gave Curry and Draymond a new weapon, but shortened Jonathan Kaminga's space, who stepped on the court in 258 games without ever averaging more than 26.4 minutes per game. That's little for a player who came as the 7th overall pick in 2021, carrying the image of being the future after the legendary trio. When Butler donned blue and gold, Kaminga became a background piece, from 46 starts down to just 10 in the following season. Anyone who breathes Dub Nation felt the weight, and those behind the scenes did, too. The wear between Kaminga and Steve Kerr has been talked about for a while. It's not gossip blog invention. Insiders like Michael Scotto confirm the forward wants a bigger and more consistent role. He's now a restricted free agent, and no one hides the fact that the Miami Heat, having lost Kevin Durant to the Houston Rockets, have become suitors eyeing this talent the Bay Area might not have room to keep. If an offer is too high or a sign-and trade makes sense, Kaminga might leave, a blow for anyone who still believes that without picks and young talent, the future loses its backbone. And in this climate of uncertainty comes a rumor that makes any Warriors fan dream like a child. Giannis Antetokounmpo. The name that freezes timelines, unlocks endless debates, and makes even those who swear they don't believe in rumors stop to listen. Because yes, the New York Post threw it out there. If Milwaukee doesn't do their homework and build around the Greek freak, his future with the franchise could waver. And in this dance, the Knicks, Heat, and Warriors are names that appear among the interested. There's nothing concrete, reporters say. It's just speculation, analysts remind us. But for Dub Nation, just a breath of possibility is enough to turn social media into confessionals. Imagine Giannis going to Warriors. He'll bring at least 6 rings of Curry, one wrote. Another was more dramatic. If the Warriors sign him, the league will be completely ruined. And some beg in all caps. Money Mike, do what you need to do. The problem? Nothing in this dream is cheap. Everyone knows that to take Giannis from Milwaukee, even hypothetically, you can't come knocking empty-handed. A package would have to involve Jonathan Kaminga, draft capital, the same one Dunleavy wants to protect, plus other pieces to balance salary and depth. Is it giving up the future for an impactful present? Maybe, but there's also one detail few ignore. Giannis would have to want to come to the Bay Area, and as distant as it may seem, the mutual respect between him and Curry is real, and admiration has already brought smiles and hugs at all-star games, secret summer workouts, and behind-the-scenes talks no one dares record. Meanwhile, Dunleavy Jr. walks a tightrope. The words, "We're more protective of our picks than any team," came from him. But so did the courage to give up a first-round pick to bring Butler. The kind of move that shows that if it's the right time, he won't hesitate. It's the same logic that now feeds the Giannis rumor. Having the weapons ready to jump into the game when the chance arises. The Heat, as always, seem to want everything without paying everything. That's the Pat Riley way. The Knicks, as noisy as they are, face the same dilemma. Who gives enough to get the Greek freak without tearing the whole roster apart? And Golden State? For Dub Nation, the answer always seems like a leap of faith. The memory of what happened when Durant arrived is still alive today. Many doubted it would work. It did, until it didn't. But what if it doesn't? That's the question echoing through the halls of the Chase Center. Bring Giannis. Let Kaminga go. Give picks and whatever else is necessary. What if the salary cap implodes in 3 years? What if Curry, Draymond, and Butler can't hold the new giant together in the locker room chemistry? What if Giannis decides to leave again? The off-season is cruel because it doesn't forgive mistakes. And Dub Nation knows. Every choice now echoes until 2030 or beyond. Because when Curry becomes a statue in front of the Chase Center, what will be left? Will future generations have a Kaminga to become the new face of the franchise, or will it be the void of a rebuild without picks and young talent? In the end, that's what makes rooting for Golden State different. This isn't just basketball, it's emotion, history, and that thread of madness that makes a fan base believe in the impossible. That's why, even if today it's all just rumor, no one can take that spark out of Dub Nation's eyes. So tell me, if you were Money Mike today, would you pull the trigger? Would you give everything for Giannis? Even if it costs Kaminga and the vault of picks you protect so fiercely? Or would you hold on to the future, betting this dynasty deserves a patient rebuild when Curry, Draymond, and Butler say goodbye? Comment down below, because here, every opinion makes this nation beat stronger. Leave your like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, because every rumor can become reality in the blink of an eye. At the Chase Center, the game never sleeps, and the only rule is to expect the impossible.